Hello, thanks for joining us. In this video, we visit the beautiful historic Yorktown, Virginia, and top on the list of things to see is the Waterman's Museum, which is on the banks of the York River. You won't be disappointed.
Anybody that makes their living on the water, starting with the American Indian to today's Navy, Coast Guard, fishermen, ship captains, and crew, even dock workers. As long as they're making their living on the Chesapeake Bay or over in England on the Thames River, they're considered a waterman. The Chesapeake Bay is the largest bay in the United States. It was formed by meteor and then glacier. 35 million years ago, a meteor hit right here. Sent a tsunami all the way to what is Ohio. Then the glacier came through and finished moving the land around it, pretty much what we have today. We're right here in Yorktown on the York River, which is not a river. It is an estuary. It's tidal and salt. We get dolphins in here quite often.
Cool.
This property used to be Hornsby Oil. It's pictured right here in the middle. It was here to fuel cars that were getting on the ferry that went from the Gloucester side of the river to this side of the river. And in 1952, when they opened up the first Coleman Bridge, the governor drove across the bridge, dedicated it, rode the ferry back, and decommissioned the ferries. Cars quit coming because they weren't getting on the ferry anymore, and there wasn't a whole lot here in Yorktown at the time. So Hornsby Oil ended up closing. Since they owned the property, they tapped off the tanks, cleaned the property up, and left the buildings sit. They sat for quite a few years. Then in the late 70s, the owner's daughter, Miriam, and a friend of hers, Nancy, wanted to start a waterman's museum. Miriam's grandfather had been a waterman, and we do have a lot of watermen around here. Miriam and Nancy asked if they could use the property since it already had buildings on it, and Hornsby Oil gave it to them. So they started with the buildings that were here, got the museum up and running. And in the early 1980s, the man bought some property across the river. It's beautiful property. It's just up the river here. Beautiful house up on a bluff overlooking the river with beautiful outbuildings. But the man and the woman didn't want those buildings. So they said, if anybody comes and takes the house and the outbuildings, you can have it. You pay us $1 the state requires to transfer the title, and you move them. So Miriam and Nancy went over and looked at him, gave him the $1, raised the money they needed, got the people they needed, went over and lifted the buildings, put them on steel beams. Then they took barges over. And starting with the outbuildings, took them down to the river, put them on a barge, and brought them on over.
Gosh, cool. That is cool.
And the last thing was the house. They got it down to the river on the barge, started across, and hit a sandbar. Yeah. They didn't take into account that when the house was built in the 30s, up on that bluff, the man wanted his house to withstand hurricanes. So instead of putting wood lath on the walls, he put extruded steel.
Oh, you do.
Just a little bit. A little heavy.
But they had to wait 6 weeks until a king tide came in, took them off that sandbar. Then they could finish bringing the house over.
Good grief.
There's a picture right up there of this house on the barge when they finally got over here.
Oh my gosh.
You can see the little tiny tractor trailer under the house.
Yeah, give you a size comparison.
Amazing.
It's still on the beams that it came over on too.
Wow. That's amazing.
That's a lot of work.
Okay, I'll give you all this. You start right here, work your way around that room. It's going to start with history, then one of the battles that were fought here, and there's a story of the black watermen in there. Then through to the next room is the evolution of boat building in the area. And down the hallway through the gift shop is the fishing industry, and at the end the sea level rise. Okay.
Are you guys visiting the area?
Yeah.
Show the visitor's guide. There's a story about our museum on page 62.
Oh, wonderful.
Did my wife get one of those?
No, she didn't, so I pick another one right here in my hand.
Oh, thank you, sir. Oh, didn't want to take yours? Yes, ma'am, thank you. Everybody's so,
Let me know.
they see a camera, everybody.
Thank you.
Ma'am, I do appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
How long have you been doing this?
3 years, 4 years, something like that.
She used to be a former Air Force instructor, that's why she speaks so well.
Yeah.
You will listen. No, that's great. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Hi, dear.
Hi, dear.
Thought I had lost you.
I've just been taking still shots.
Oh, thank you. I want to know where you go to see the dolphins. She said that the York River's an estuary.
Oh,
She said you see dolphins in it. Oh, little kids. I love this. It's really cool. I imagine that's so true. And a whole line of outboards. Crab traps. This section is predominantly
But again, my problem
about boat building and the different boats that run up and down around the Chesapeake Bay. fragment of a log canoe. That's really wild. Love to know the story behind that. I know they would always set fire and then they'd burn and chop out the charcoal or the burnt wood till they got the shape they wanted. They have a fellow in this museum that builds, they say, about 90% of these boats that you see here. And this is his workbench, his work area. He's got one on the jig right now being built. Said he's just gone home, said he'll be back in a little bit.
Almost extinct. It's super hard to find and really slow.
I, at one time, did a lot of RC plane building, which takes some of the same patience, I guess. But these things are great.
No, I thought you went down south for a week or so. Oh, okay.
Some beautiful, beautiful models. He said this was his first attempt at an RC, or a radio-controlled boat. That thing is beautiful. When we left the Waterman's Museum, we decided that we would check out the little shops and restaurants that they had on one side. It was a really nice little mall area there. We really enjoyed it. Found a shop we could buy some stuff for George. We could take him home something. And on the other side was beautiful water of the York River, and we were fascinated by the bridge. The bridge is George P. Coleman Bridge. It was built in 1952, and it connects Gloucester Point and Yorktown, and it goes over the York River. And we had to check out this crane that was preening or cleaning himself on a rock. It was kind of cool to watch. Nice little park area right next door to the Waterman's Museum. And where are we, sweetie?
Yorktown.
Yorktown.
And we can actually see the York River and the bridge that goes over.
Yep, that was the York River, which I understand is not a river, it's an estuary. And the lady was telling us that it is brackish, it has salt in it, and it actually changes with the tide, directions as to which way it goes by the tide. She said that they have seen dolphins in that river, so it's cool to know. We were happy to find that they have a trolley that goes to all of the important sites in Yorktown, and we were glad we didn't have to walk. Here we are at the Colonial National Historical Park in Yorktown Battlefield. We didn't have a whole lot of time to do much filming inside the museum. We were cutting it close on time to catch the trolley to get back to our car. The trolley quit running at 5 o'clock and we were getting mighty close on time and too far away to walk. So we hustled up This is some of the architecture here and the restored part of Yorktown. If anyone's ever been to Williamsburg, you know what the buildings look like, just like those. This is the other side of the George P. Coleman Bridge. The bridge is a swing arm design, which means the sections turn like on a turntable. The bottom of the river is not strong enough to hold supports for the customary or normal drawbridge that rises vertically. So they have two spans that spin to allow ships to pass. And we weren't lucky enough to see them open up, but that would be fascinating. Well, we're almost back to where we started for the beginning of the day. We have only just scratched the surface of things to see in the Yorktown area. There's Williamsburg, there's Jamestown, so much more to see, and we're definitely going to be making a return trip. And I hope this video tempts you into visiting the area. It's a great place to spend some time. So y'all take care. Bye. I didn't get to see my dolphins, so I'm definitely coming back.